says he's open to witnesses. As trial rules are said, he's really not open to hearing anybody. The U.S. Senate plunged into 45's impeachment trial, with Republicans abruptly abandoning plans to cram opening arguments into 2 days. That subtly rejecting for now Democratic demands for more witnesses to expose what they deem 45's trifecta of offenses. 45 himself said Wednesday he wants top aides to testify, but qualified that by suggesting there was national security concerns to allowing their testimony. 45 believes that they have a great case, which they don't. This is what he was claiming at his economic forum in Davos, Switzerland. In a press conference before returning to Washington, 45 said his legal team was doing a very good job. No, they're not. The only good job that you're doing is committing the crimes, and you're doing a very good job at committing them out in the open. He appeared to break with the Republicans' efforts to block Democratic motions to immediately call witnesses and subpoena documents. Instead, 45 said he'd like to see aides, including former National Security Advisor John Bolton, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, and Acting Chief of Mick Mulvaney testify as the witnesses. 45 said he'd lead the national security concerns about allowing the testimony to the Senate. 45's on Tuesday's day-long session started with setback for Republican Senate leader Mitch McConnell and the squad's legal team, but it ended near 2 a.m. Wednesday with Republicans easily approving the rest of the trial rules largely on their terms. With the rules settled, the trial is now on a fast track. At issue is whether 45 should be removed from office for abuse of power. Yes, he should be, stemming from his pressure on Ukraine to investigate Democratic rival Joe Biden and Biden's son Hunter, as 45 was withholding aid to the country for obstructing Congress's ensuing probe. Chief Justice John Roberts gavelled down the session with House prosecutors on one side, 45's legal team on the other, in the well of the Senate, as senators sat silently at their desks under oath to do impartial justice. No cell phones or electronics were allowed. As the day stretched deep into the night, lawyerly arguments gave way to more pointedly political ones. 45 tempers flared, and senators paced the chamber. Democrats pursued what may be their only chance to force senators to vote on hearing new testimony. After one particularly bitter post-midnight exchange, Roberts intervened, taking the rare step of admonishing the Democratic House managers prosecuting the case and the White House counsel to remember where they are. I think it is appropriate at this point for me to admonish both the House managers and the Squatters' Council in equal terms to remember what they're addressing as the world's greatest deliberative body, the usually reserved Roberts said. He told them that description of the Senate stemmed from a 1905 trial when a senator objected to the word pettifogging, because members should avoid speaking in a manner and using language that is not conducive to civil discourse. Over and over, Republicans turned back Democratic amendments to subpoena documents from the White House, State Department, Defense Department, and Budget Office by the same 53 to 47 party line. They turned away witnesses with front row seats to 45's actions, including acting White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney and John Bolton, the former National Security Advisor, critical of the Ukraine policy. Only on one amendment, to allow more time to file, did a single Republican Senator Susan Collins of Maine join Democrats, but it too was rejected 52-48. Motions from the 45 legal team were due Wednesday morning, but the attorneys weren't filing any, said Jay Sukalo, one of the squatters' lawyers. That means there will be no motion to dismiss the case, as some Republicans had discussed. As the visitors' gallery filled earlier with guests, actress and activist Alyssa Milano among them, and 45's most ardent House allies lining the back rows, the day that began as a debate over rules quickly took on the cadence of a trial proceeding over whether the squatters' actions toward Ukraine warranted a removal from the office. Yes, it does. It's not our job to make it easy for you, said Adam Schiff, the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee leading the prosecution, told the Senate. Our job is to make it hard to deprive the American people of a fair trial. White House counsel Pat Cipollone told the squatter's lead lawyer called the trial a farce. He scoffed at that the White House charges against 45 were ridiculous. No, they're not. The White House legal team did not dispute 45's actions when he called Ukraine and asked for a favor, which was to investigate Biden as he withheld military aid the ally desperately needed as it faced off with hostile Russia on its border. But the lawyers insisted that the squatter did nothing wrong. He did, of course. Asking them to investigate a political rival so you can win the 2020 election, that's just fucking wrong. Absolutely no case. Actually, that is the case. Schiff, the California Democrats and American Founders had added the remedy of impeachment in the Constitution with precisely this type of conduct in mind. Conduct that abuses the power of office for personal benefit but undermines our national security, and that invites foreign interference in a democratic process of an election. Schiff said if it is the trifecta of constitutional misconduct justifying impeachment. Sigalo, the other lead lawyer on 45's team, retorted, I'll give you a trifecta outlining complaints over the House Democrats' impeachment inquiry process. And DeVos, 45 repeated his attacks on Democratic House managers serving as prosecutors in the trial, saying that he'd like to sit right in front of the row and stare at their faces on the Senate floor during the trial, but that his attorneys might have a problem with it. Yeah, because he's gonna fucking lie his ass off. That's what he would do. That's why. And he said he wants to deliver the State of the Union as scheduled on February 4th, even if the trial is ongoing, calling the address very important to what I'm doing. Yeah, like fucking people over. Is that what you consider important? The impeachment trial is set against the backdrop of the 2020 election. All 4 senators who are Democratic presidential candidates were off the campaign trail, seated as jurors. My focus is going to be on impeachment, said Senator Bernie Sanders, the Vermont Independent, that he told reporters. Mitch McConnell stunned senators and delayed the start of the proceedings. With his decision to back off some of his proposed rules, he made the adjustment after encountering resistance from Republicans during a closed-door lunch meeting. Senators worried about the political optics of dark of night sessions that could come from cramming the 24 hours of opening arguments from each side into just 2 days. Collins and Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, who often buck party leadership along with substantial number of other Republicans, wanted to make the changes according to people familiar with the situation. It was only when the clerk started reading the dry language of the resolution that the handwritten changes to extend debate to 3 days became apparent. It also allowed the Senate It also allowed the House impeachment record to be included in the Senate. The turnaround was a swift lesson as White House wishes run into the reality of the Senate. The White House wanted a session kept to a shorter period of time to both expedite the trial and shift more of or expedite, whatever you call it, of the proceedings into late night, according to a person familiar with the matter but unauthorized to discuss it. 45's legal team, absent its TV showcase attorneys, Alan Dumbass Dershowitz and Kenneth Dumbass Starr, who were not in the chamber, argued that in seeking new evidence, the House was bringing a half-baked case. But Representative Sol Lofgren of California, one of the House managers and the first woman to argue for the prosecution in a squadral impeachment trial, said the House wasn't asking the Senate to do the job for them. The House is asking the Senate to do its job, to have a trial. She said, have you ever heard of a trial without evidence? The White House had instructed officials not to testify in the House inquiry and refused to turn over witnesses or documents, citing what it says as precedents in a defiance of congressional subpoenas. Democrat Adam Schiff displayed video of 45 himself suggesting that there should be more witnesses testifying. One by one, the House managers made the case, drawing on their own life experiences. Representative Val Demings, who's a Democrat from Florida, a former police chief, said she never saw anyone take such extreme steps to hide evidence, meaning Trump, or 45 if you want to call him that, because that's his number for the squadron. Representative Jason Crow, a former Army Ranger who served in Iraq and Afghanistan, seemed to capture senators' attentions when he told them near the hour was late, but it was morning in Ukraine when soldiers were waking up to fight Russia, depending on the U.S. Aid. It was when Representative Jared Nadler, the House Judiciary Committee chairman, also leading the prosecution, said the White House lawyers lie, like Cephalon and Sukalo retorted that Nadler should be embarrassed and apologize, leading to Roberts' admonition. No squatter has ever been removed from office with its 53-47 Republican majority. The Senate is not expected to mount the 2/3 vote needed for conviction.